Welcome to the Leafy podcast, helping real estate investors and entrepreneurs grow. Say hello to your hosts, Jennifer Glagoric and Brian Price, founders of Leafy Legal Services, teaching you how to protect your assets, grow your business, and manage your wealth. Let's start the show.
Hi, everyone. Welcome to Leafy Podcast. Thank you so much for being with us today. I'm Tammy, the podcast manager for Leafy Podcast, and I've got Jennifer hosting today. She is part of the Leafy Legal Services team, and we are really glad and lucky to have a very special guest with us today. So I'll go ahead and pass it off to Jennifer so she can get started.
Today's guest has a very long and fairly illustrious career helping businesses scale. Today we have on the former founder of Salesforce. Well, he'll always be, I guess, one of the founders of Salesforce.com. And he has went on to be the owner of over 12 cross-industry businesses and counting. He is currently the owner of BizResults.com. He has a 30-year tenure with the Sandler Institute President's Club. He is certified in all TTI, SSI behavioral sciences. He's the developer of RPRS job benchmarking system, and he's the developer of the business intelligence BI platform, BizScan. Now he is working with BizResults to help small and medium-sized businesses scale and stay afloat and grow. I'm a very huge advocate, as everybody knows, of small and medium-sized businesses. I feel like we are the backbone of the economy, and that without small businesses, we don't have a middle class, we don't have towns, and I am just very impressed with this guest. So excited to have him on. So let us welcome Rick Cottrell. Rick, thank you so much for being on the show.
Hey, no problem. Glad to be here.
Well, so tell us a little bit about your journey after you decided to, tell us a little bit about Salesforce, because everybody knows about Salesforce, and then what you've been doing since then.
So it basically started back in Washington, D.C., where I was a partner with a consulting firm whose focus was developing CX or customer experience platforms. And this was a long, long time ago. Things weren't even developed at this point. There was no HubSpot. There was nothing, right? And no Salesforce, if you will. And so we were recruited by the White House in conjunction with the Society of Consumer Affairs Professionals to create a survey process where we wanted to uncover the impact of customer dissatisfaction with businesses. And so that particular study then drove a ton of business in the area of trying to determine the engagement strategies that companies should have with their clients or customers, B2B or B2C, it didn't really matter. And we were able to create economic modeling around that to show a company what their market damage was as it related to less than stellar practices that they were performing with their customer base, right? And so it started there, and I worked with companies like Marriott and Apple and McDonald's, and the list goes on and on with that. And, after that engagement with that consulting firm, I had the opportunity to enlist venture capital and start a business geographically. It was in Detroit, connected with my mentor, my business mentor, who was also my investor. And we created a company that really got into the database marketing activities. Now, this is in the mid-90s when things were really not developed very well. So you can imagine how archaic things were back then. But anyway, so we developed that company and grew it. We were a tier 1 to the big 3, which is a great place to be for a company. And in that process, General Motors asked us to develop a program that they could utilize to help their field sales organization better support the dealer community, right? All of the franchise dealers. And so we branded that name as Salesforce.com. And one day we received a call from Mark Benioff, and he asked if we would want to part with that. And we had just won a big contract with Chrysler, and we were in the ether at that time, and said, yeah, no problem, let's do it. And if I had known now what I did know then, right? I probably would have had a different deal put together. But so at the end of the day, that process was developed because of the research we were doing in the area of customer experience and customer communication and the impact of a communication cycle with a customer. And we were implementing that with General Motors, Ford, and Chrysler at the time. So it was kind of a bleeding edge concept and technology. We didn't really have our hands around it completely, but that's the genesis of how that whole deal went down. Sold that business and then bought another couple companies, and the story goes on from there. During the tenure of business ownership and developing businesses, growing them and selling them, what I learned was that there are a few simple tools, disciplines, things that you really need in order to have a business get to the next level, right? To experience next level success. And I made a commitment after we sold our last company, which was about 2 years ago, wholesaling distribution company here in St. Louis, that I wanted to develop a business that did nothing but help small mid companies grow. And so in essence, what we do is we take a litany of tools, some proprietary, some are pretty well known today, kind of merge them together, and then absolutely it will help a company get to the next level. They'll grow profitably, turn into scalable businesses. And really the concept is all developed around this business in a box theory that I have, that there's so much opportunity out there. All you have to do is formalize your company, almost like franchising it, and you can get it to the next level and exceed any of the goals that you would ever dream of. And we've been lucky enough.
And can this, I hate to stop you, but can this be for any business? When you say business in the box, I automatically think, oh, it's a certain other type of business. Or can you utilize this at bizresults.com for like any business?
Yes, it's any business, any industry, because, let's be real. We utilize the operating system, EOS, Entrepreneurial Operating System. I don't know if you're familiar with that. Gino Wickman created that in Detroit, right? He wrote the book Traction. There's a couple of other publications that go along with that. But at the end of the day, you're really focusing on 6 components. You need a vision developed. You need everybody to be on board and aligned with it. You need the right people in the right seats, right? People are very important to success in a company.
Yes.
You need data, right? Good, hard data, scorecarding. You need a root cause culture, meaning you need people, no matter where they are in the organization, to identify a problem and be able to solve it immediately so it never comes back again. So there's some thoughts there. You need your processes developed, 20-80 rule, 20% of the processes that drive 80% of your growth. And then you need the 6 components, which is really traction, and that is getting everybody in the company aligned and operating based on the vision that you've described with all these tools. And so that baseline model works in any industry. I've got clients in professional services, payroll, aerospace, it doesn't matter. It works in any industry.
So if someone was scaling up, we deal with a lot of real estate investors, and many of our investors are new, or they have many other jobs. Some of them go into multifamily. We have some people that are just doing flips, but it's a business. So, we're at the very beginning teaching them that because it's a business, you need to do your entity structuring. You need to have an estate plan that does this. We help them get the very beginning set to where the mindset is there. It's a business. So you're saying that this would help them as well?
Yeah, really. If you have, our target market, our target audience is really 10 to 250 in terms of employee counts.
Okay.
Any bigger than 250, you start getting into a lot of ego, a lot of C-suite environments. And in this particular model, you have to be open, honest, and transparent. You can't put yourself before the organization. So what we found is 10 to 250 is a good number, but below 10, I've got clients below 10, if their heads are screwed on straight and they really are tired of the status quo and want to grow their companies, absolutely. And a lot of times really small, the 1 or 2 person, 3 person companies can take these tools. We give them away for free. mean, they can take these tools and really implement them themselves if they like to do that.
Wait a minute, you give them away for free?
Yeah, so we're here to help, right? And so we try to help these companies. I mean, at the end of the day, I may not be able to work with a two-person company, but most certainly I can give them a little bit of guidance and help them move themselves down the path.
Well, that's amazing. So besides that, which I think is fascinating and fabulous, really, because you're in such struggle mode as a startup. And so I would like to see a lot more investment from the town level, even to go to creating startups in town, and economic development partnerships that do everything to help people be startups and get in business. So I'm so happy to talk to you because everything I'm just like, yes. But what else do you think makes Biz Results unique for you?
The technology, in essence, the business intelligence platform, and we're moving into an area of AI, machine learning, to give us predictive modeling so we can help small business scale up. It is an illustration to the small business owner that, this isn't a job. If you want a job, that's cool. You can get a job, you can buy a job. But if you want to take this business somewhere, there is a plan, a roadmap to do it. And visually in an economic format, we offer that particular platform so you can see where you are, where you're going, and how you're going to get there, and visually see how much value you're generating, what your key metrics or your scorecard metrics are, what the economy is doing to it, what your previous economic experience has been. So we kind of help them with understanding that. So the technology is unique. And then the other thing that's unique is we've developed an assessment process where we can define right people, right seats, and connect to it a percentage of probability that an employee will be successful in their job and last at least a minimum of 24 months at the position.
Wow, that's amazing. I'm always usually negative, testing for employment because I came in a recruiter background, and I saw that many times people would say, no, not that guy. And I would push for them because there's like this talent to it, and they would end up being great, And so I've seen it happen too many times. And so I have to admit, when it comes to AI for human interactions, I feel that we are the superior species on that. That if you have a talent and a love for people, that you can discern a lot about someone's character from the way they speak, the way they're holding themselves, that an AI never would. As far as I've seen on paper or testing amazing candidates that I met, and there was something about them and I thought, you are off. And I just knew it. And it turns out I'm usually right. There's that gut feeling that you can't teach AI now. But I find it interesting because that's going to be changing, and it's changing more and more and more. Some of the change I think is for good, some not. How would you describe your system being able to handle those challenges that I just spoke about the human?
Yeah, so, basically it measures the why. Why people get out of bed in the morning, which I think is critically important. If somebody is working in an administrative function somewhere in an organization, I don't want to make this sound hierarchical or anything, but if they're in administration in the shipping area, for example, of a distribution company, I'd like to know what their why is. It's not really that critically important to me that they jump out of bed and the first thing they think about is coming to work for my company. But I do want to know what drives them. And then also the how they operate, what is their behavioral profile? I want to know how they operate. And then also I want to know what their competencies are, right? And I want those measured, and I want to know if they are fixable, meaning trainable, coachable, whatever, or if they're not fixable. So for example, in a competency in a generic sense, if you're looking for somebody to be self-starting, think outside of the box, be kind of an innovator in your company, and they don't score highly on that capability, you can't teach that, right? So that's something that somebody is inherent into their behavior. So those are the kinds of things that we look at, and then based on weighting and some benchmarking processes that we do, we create a probability of success, and we really haven't been proven wrong yet. Of course, this is done in conjunction with background checks, and there is some subjective feelings too. So there's a tool within EOS that we utilize. It's called the People Analyzer, and it really, what it does is it rates people against your core value set. So, for example, if you have 5 core values, do they exhibit those core values, or if they're being onboarded as a new employee, do you think they can exhibit those core values? And then finally, the last subjective test is you determine whether or not they want, and have the capacity to do their job, right? And so that's the subjective side of things. So we typically, the leadership team is involved in running through those assessments for their people. And what it does is it identifies people issues immediately if they're in the company or in advance. It's, for example, a very simple example is if you have a low risk profile as a person, not that that's good or bad, and you go into a selling environment, you're probably going to, this is really simplistic, but you're probably going to be afraid to ask for the sale. Right? Because you're low risk. You're not going to take a chance. And so that actually causes an issue with your performance. And then the manager, the sales manager, if they haven't gone through these processes, gets very upset about, this person, I thought they were good. They're awful. And they're not awful. They're just not in the right seat in the company, or maybe they shouldn't be in your company. And so that's kind of the differentiator, if you will, or the uniqueness of what we go through. So we use subjective, but we also want to get into the analytics and understand probability. Our clients love that assessment. It's very cool.
No, that is cool, because I'm always, I try to be really open-minded, even though sometimes I cannot be, and Tammy can tell but I'm trying to push against my own limitations on things, because I don't want my own stuff to limit other things. And I think most people are like that too. I can think of investors. I mean, many times I work with entrepreneurs, and I've got to tell you, when I've walked into a company that's tanking, they always hired me for sales and marketing. Come in here, redo all my scripts, redo my marketing, blah, blah, blah. My brochures are crap, So I'd go in there, and every single time it was HR. They hired the wrong people, put them in the wrong jobs. They were managing them poorly. And it usually always had to do with the boss. Because it was something there. So if you can get over that and learn more about yourself and about the people that are there, because no one wants to admit, wow, I'm a real bad judge of character, like that's a bad one. You don't want to have that glitch, right? So anything that can help you, or at least challenge yourself and say, wow, I thought they would have scored a lot higher. Why is that? Let me ask more questions, I think is very helpful. Very, very much so. So that's great. And it's great that smaller companies can have access to the same technology and the same thought process that large companies that have scaled have used for that, so that they can be more profitable. So I just think that's really great. So when did Biz Results launch? What are your goals for this business? And tell me a little bit about that. So
we kicked it off formally about 3 years ago, and it is a evolving process based on the research we are doing in determining where the weaknesses are in these small, mid-sized companies, right? I mean, typically the business owner is working in the business. They're focused on that. They're working 60, 80 hours a day. About 80% of the companies we visit with run into this kind of stuff. So they don't know what they don't know. That's number one. They could be so used to status quo that they think that's normal or good. Hey, you know what? As long as I've got money in the bank, yay. That type of thing. They're not thinking about growth. And so, when we were selling our last company, we went through the process of determining what the basic tenets were going to be for this. And it was going to be innovation with a mixture of established tools and disciplines. And that's the way we were going to do it. And we want to focus on small, mid-sized companies because they become the redheaded stepchild of business. What happens is that a company will deal with those folks when they're growing, right? I don't care. It could be a B2B provider of credit card services, whatever. You start with the smaller companies, you get a base of business, book of business, and then at some point in time, you get a bigger sale, and then you tell all your smaller customers, I'm done with you. And so they're left holding the bag, right? And so it's more of a function of passion related to helping these folks grow. And frankly, I'm excited whenever I go in. I was just with 2 companies last week that have the potential of, these are both of these companies are probably $2 to $3 million in size, and I told them in our just discovery process, I said, you got to be about 20 million in 5 years. I can't imagine you not if you just get your act together and do a few things, right? And so, or bigger than that, right? And I've got one company that is in a $291 billion industry. They're at 5 million. I'm like, how long, you've been doing this for 5 years. I mean, isn't this boring? Why not go to 50 million? I mean, what's stopping you? That's not even a rounding error in the size of your market potential. So it's, that's the exciting part about this thing.
That is exciting. I have to admit, just listening to you, if you were a small business owner and have someone to come in with your experience and look at it and say, look, from the data and analytics and this is what you could be doing. You just need to tweak a little bit and you can hit X.
Right.
I think my heart would start pumping more. I'd be like, yes. So that is, especially if you don't know what you don't know.
Right.
And the new set of eyes is critical. So, yeah.
And we don't financially injure the company. I mean, we want to make sure that our value is compensated for, but we're not in the business of, draining 5% of their EBITDA every. It's about helping somebody grow, and that's what we're all about.
Well, I think that's just amazing. Again, we're talking to Rick Cottrell. He is the founder of bizresults.com. That's bizresults.com. And we're about at the end, but so I want to get any last points that you can give to us for anyone who's just starting out and things that they need to look at or whatever last thoughts you have, whatever you want.
Yeah, so number one, you need an operating system in your company, right? And my recommended solution is the Entrepreneurial Operating System because I've done it, implemented it. I've helped companies implement it. It's an easy system that anybody in a company can understand. It works in any industry, any business. And at minimum, implementation of the foundational tools in it. And if anybody wants to talk about that, they can go to the website. Just let me know they want to talk. We're great listeners in that regard. But anyway, you need an operating system. That's like number one on the list. And if you don't put one in, as you grow in complexity and your business starts taking off, it's going to you're going to start freaking out. You're going to work a lot of hours. Your time, your work-life balance is going to go sideways. Your profitability is going to suffer. You're going to be inefficient. There's all kinds of things that will happen to your business if you don't do that. And I will tell you, 8 to 9 out of 10 companies do not have an operating system, and they're just flying blind. So if you can imagine, somebody that is, hey, you're grabbing somebody in the hallway at outside of an operating group. Hey, that guy needs a heart transplant. Just go on in and give it your best shot. I mean, it's not going to be a good thing, right? And so you need an operating system in your business to, and you need to be functional in the components of that operating system. And that's the basic recommendation that I would make, regardless of industry.
Well, I think that's a good one, a very good one to start. But you need to have a base and a plan and a structure. And when you don't have a good foundation, then you get all these cracks, and there's cracks you can't even see. And when you see them, when you start getting some good business, and then it all breaks, and then you're unable to go forward or take care of your customers, and a lot of issues come out. Buy your next deal be able to grow, if you're an investor doing this. Well, I just want to thank you so much for being here today. And it's about the end of our time, which I hate because I think I could talk to you for like 5 hours straight and not take a breath. Tammy, will you take us away?
Sure. Thank you so much, Rick, again, for being on the show with us. Thank you, Jennifer, for hosting again. And if you would like to contact Rick, I will have all of his links in our show notes for today. So just visit our site at leafylegalservices.com, and you'll be able to click on podcast and find all of the information about Rick there. If you would like me to pass on information to Rick, or if you have any comments or questions about our show, please email me at Tammy, Tammy, at leafylegalservices.com. And you can find us on social media. Just look for us on Facebook and Twitter and LinkedIn, everywhere you could go. We are at Leafy Legal. And thank you again so much for listening. I hope you have a wonderful day, and we'll see you next time. Bye-bye.
Attention real estate investors and entrepreneurs. Did you know that real estate investors are a primary target for lawsuits? According to the National Survey of the Court data, 25% of Americans risk being sued in their lifetime. However, if you are a real estate investor, you have a 95% chance of being sued in the next 20 years. Leafy Legal Services helps you protect your assets and strategically grow your business and wealth. Leafy Legal Services are experts at the Series LLC and Delaware Statutory Trust, two of the newest and most ideal legal structures for real estate investors. Leafy Legal Services have the most personalized and affordable solutions for setting up LLCs. Property owners are always at risk when it comes to their assets. Anonymity is so important. If you own just a rental house and you own your home, you have to protect yourself and your properties from any potential legal issues. Leafy Legal Services have the right solutions to make sure you are happy and feel secure. They offer cost-effective documentation that suits their clients' needs. For a free consultation and ebook, visit leafylegalservices.com. They are waiting to hear from you. leafylegalservices.com.
Follow us on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram.
Don't wait. Take action now. LeafyLegalServices.com. Protect your assets, grow your business, and manage your wealth.